country, besides bringing a quantum leap in the road construction in the highways sector. He was also responsible for the administration of regulatory frameworks for road transport, auto emission norms, and vehicle safety regulations. He has also served as an additional secretary and special secretary in the Niti Aayog, where he handled several important areas. He also held several important positions and led key initiatives in the state of Haryana. He is currently chairman and managing director of the Unitech Group. I would request Sri Malik to address us about integrating heat resilience into India's built infrastructure. Mr. Malik, please.
Thank you for saying so much which I didn't know myself. Well, I start with a note of apology from this August gathering here, because I really wonder that whether I deserve to be here to give the closing remarks, especially when I have not had the benefit of attending the earlier sessions. But when I looked at the entire program, I noticed that the whole canvas is so large. It has scientists, experts, technologists, manufacturers, and whatnot, and I'm none of them. And we're talking in a global context. My exposure to the global context is extremely limited. And when I look at the subject, I'm feeling a bit out of place. And that is a concern, and that's a role for the entire citizenry. That is, do we have to recreate winter in the summer months? That's precisely what we are doing in this hall. That is where I think something has gone wrong with us. Why do we have to create a 17, 18 degrees Celsius temperature environment when 24, 25, 26 is very good and comfortable for any work environment? And since my own exposure is very limited, I would be talking only on the basis of my experience in north of Vindhyas in India. I don't see the extremes of temperatures in south of Vindhyas. I'm talking of these states where the temperatures go as high, where you first think of beat the heat, not cooling. Cooling comes secondary. And in that context, let us look at that farmer who is in his field, who is carrying out his agricultural operations in temperatures which may be 45, 42, 41 degrees centigrade, going even up to 47 on 1 or 2 days. We can't universalize if the temperature goes beyond 45 degrees centigrade on 3 days in a year. We can't generalize it. You only need to look at how do you beat the heat. And if you learn from, and I have no hesitation in saying here that I am a weekend farmer also. I plow my tractor on my fields and I beat that heat. The first thing, if you learn and see from the conventional wisdom of those who are working in very heated environment or high temperature environments, whether it's a construction labor worker or it's a farmer, the first thing they do is they wear some kind of a headwear, some headgear, some pagdi, so that the heat doesn't affect you directly and you protect yourself from that. That is the first thing. And frankly, the climate change has become a major area of concern because we have grown up. As a child in my village, I used to go out to tend my animals also. And once in a while, when you are barefoot, what you do is you immerse your feet when you are barefoot. You immerse your feet in the cow dung, which gives you the best protection against the sand. It doesn't let your skin burn. Now, I'm really missing the climate change effect. In the months of April, when the harvest is about to be taken off, it's raining. and it brings the temperature down. Now, this is a time from in north of Vindhyas, if I may say so, from 15th of April to 15th of October. This is the 6-month period which is here, which is concerning all of us. My limited exposure, whether you hold a conference in Harvard or you hold it in Oxford or anything, those are not the places where you learn about beating the heat. Somebody said that, oh, this time London was so hot that people had to use fans and they didn't have fans. We are not talking of that. We are talking of this place from 15th of April till 15th of October. And in this, you have about 2 months, which is a bit dry weather, when the temperatures remain or hover between 35 to 40 degrees centigrade and then 40 to 45 or 46 degrees centigrade. And when the loo blows, the warm winds blows, as a matter of fact, the loo blowing is absolutely necessary for human, animal health as well as the health of your soil. And I'm missing it. You don't get naturally ripened melons and watermelons and cucumbers unless these are the gadgets, these are the vegetables and fruits which are used by conventionally the farmers to beat the heat, apart from the headwear. We don't get it unless you have a continuous loo blowing for a period of at least 15 to 20 days. So in that kind of a scenario, first thing I look at all of us is whether we should adapt to a temperature environment of 24-25 degrees centigrade or recreate winter. That is the first thing which the general people have to look at. Now, second part which I see as a part of the cooling strategies. If you are in the fields, then you breathe, take a breather, come underneath a tree and enjoy the shade. And some breeze, even if it is low, gives you the relief. But rest of it, we should be able to move under a fan. And I wanted, I was looking at the program that Mr. Podar from the fan manufacturing industry was also one of the participants in this. But what I find is, today you go to the market, you have lightweight, energy efficient fans, but you don't have the cooling fans. The length of the wings has come down, narrowed down. It runs at very high speed, little realizing that when a fan is run at the speed of 4 or 5, it is so fast that the fan itself heats up the air, and we have not provided for the Roshndans for emission of that hot air outside. It's not helping. I have seen fans which you use at 1 or 2 speed pace, and it gives you air throughout the area, the room, rather than concentrating at that place. And it gives you really the comfort level of working, which body is also adapted to. You come to the air conditioning. I really don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a technologist person. But when you talk of the air conditioners, as a matter of fact, I learned first from Dr. Devi Shetty, the Narayan Hridayalaya. And he told me he has put up a chain of about 14 hospitals. He says the air conditioning in my hospitals is limited only to the OTs, the operation theaters, and it does not provide air conditioning for the patient indoors. Because in a hospital-like atmosphere, the air conditioning is done through a ducting system, and ducts are the most favorable place for bacterial generation and infections. I don't know, right or wrong, but I have no means to question what a pediatric heart surgeon is saying based on his experience. Secondly, I find, I've constructed my own house and saw this thing. You also look at some of the history teaches you. Once I had gone to see Fatehpur Sikri. Now, Fatehpur Sikri in a hot scorching month, the temperature would be somewhere around 45 plus, and particularly all the floors and everything is made of stone, the Agra stone and that part of it. And there we learned that there is a so-called palace of Jodhabai Mahal, as they refer to, that it was cool. The cooling technique used in that was that they ran pipes through the wide walls, running 2 pipes and circulating cold water through those, which would keep it cool. We can't have that luxury today. You won't be able to have that. But in the rural side, I believe the cow dung and the soil pasting retains your structure cooler. We can't have that also as we move towards the urbanization. Those are the limitations. But all the air conditioning guys, they tell you, oh, this is the volume. In order to cool this volume, you have to have a 1.5 ton AC. What I looked at is that in buildings, particularly high-rise, which is the culture as it is coming today, even if you have very large bedrooms, say something like 18 feet by 12 feet, and the building is 14-story high, depending on what is the direction and how it gets direct heating from the sun for how long, I think up to about 10th floor, a 1-ton AC is more than enough for that size of a room. Why do we go in for a 1.5-ton AC? I'm not getting into the science of air conditioning, but what I'm saying is a 1-ton AC keeps my room so comfortable. The only thing is I don't recreate winter. I don't unnecessarily waste energy in those things. I think we have to, as normal citizens, we have to adapt ourselves to the climate or to the weather in which we are there. And that is why, as many people said, I happen to be in FSSAI, Food Safety Standards Authority of India, for some time. And I learned from a very old man. He used to be deputy editor of, I think, the Reader's Digest. And referring to a book on culinary from Shivaji's times, he said the best medium for food that you use is what grows naturally in your agroclimatic condition. Which means for North India, probably it's sarson oil, sesame oil. For the coastal areas, it is the coconut oil. And rest of the areas, you also use ghee or butter and that kind of thing, rather than getting the canolas and those kinds of things which are not growing in your soil. You have grown in this soil, so you have to adapt your body to certain temperature levels which we can. Frankly, I would even question that we attend so many conferences and this. Would Indian climate or Indian weather, particularly in these months, in this bracket, does it require we should wear a tie and a jacket? Why? It becomes more of a burden. Only because it has become the dress code, we should keep following it blindly. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. We are wearing a protective layer in an environment where you are perspiring. But only probably to sit in this kind of a 17-18 degrees Celsius environment. That is where it suits. So these are some of the small observations. Also look at it, that earlier the houses used to be constructed. I'm talking of now housing part of it. I'm currently looking after it. I have very limited scope for making any changes. In high-rise buildings, you barely get your flat where the floor to ceiling height is a clear 10 feet. The chances are that it will be about 9.5 feet, and if you stand on your bed, and if you are not stupid enough, you will strike against the fan. Now, if you have, say, a 12 feet height with apertures over and above your joinery, for the hot air to emit out, it really makes a difference of 4 to 5 degrees Celsius in terms of coming in and getting out. Nothing stops us from having a 13 inches wall as the outer wall. We can have 4 inches wall inside as partition walls. But the outer wall could be 13 inches, which has to beat the heat, particularly in that direction where sun is coming maximum on your floors, on your side. This is where it is important to learn what is the sun movement. If my flat is on, say, eastern side, what I find is that the impact of heat directly coming from the sun is not more than 2 hours. Eastern side, by 11 o'clock, the sun is moving onto this direction. It takes a different direction. And if it is on the west side, it has the longest impact. That's what one has learned as a part of the experiences. So what is important, and simultaneously, as one of the speakers pointed out here, we have to be concerned about the climate change. And we have to learn to beat the weather. We have to learn and adapt our body to the natural surroundings. Between 15th April to 15th October, you have 2 months when we are uncomfortable because of the sultry weather which is caused by the presence of humidity in the air. That is where, and that is when probably air conditioning is most effective. And you don't need air conditioning lower than 24, 25 degrees centigrade at that time. I have shared with you only what I have seen, as I said, and started with a note of apology that I'm not an expert, but shared with you what I've learned and to what I have been exposed to. Thank you so much, and I must thank the organizers, particularly, I never thought that I would be given an opportunity of this exposure to such a galaxy of experts, but it was Deepa, a friend, a batchmate, who said, I have to come, so I'm here, and she has flown to Bombay by now. So that I'll settle with her separately. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Dr. Bibha Dhawan, who is the Director General of the Energy and Resources Institute. She has been associated with the Institute since 1985. She has also served as the Vice Chancellor of the Terry School of Advanced Studies from 2005 to 7. She is a Fellow of the National Academy of Sciences, India. Dr. Dhawan is a renowned expert in biotechnology and has made significant contributions in this field. Dr. Dhawan is actively involved in research as well as policy development, both at the national and international levels. She is a task force member of a number of committees of the Department of Biotechnology, the Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council, the Biotech Consortium India Limited. I would request Dr. Dhawan to reflect on how CSOs can advance heat and cooling solutions.
Thank you so much, and thanks to all the participants. It's the fag end of the conference, so thanks for staying back, and to the organizers to have me over here. In fact, I was complimenting Mr. Singh because he spoke from the heart, because what is happening and what corrective action we can take place. I always say, because one good thing is put the blame on climate change, and then when you talk of climate change, and then you say it's industrialization which has resulted in climate change. We don't want to own any responsibility. And that is what I want to remind each one of you. When we talk of climate change, yes, we all are getting impacted, but we all are contributing to climate change. Let's recognize that. Let's look at our own childhood versus the way we are living today. Air conditioning, perhaps you had only in one room, or maybe you were managing with the coolers. And most of the time it used to be fans. And we were more rugged than the children today. For them, it's funny you go to the shop and they'll say, would you like to buy AC blanket? When I heard for the first time, I said, what is it? They said it's for the AC rooms when you put the temperature to 18 degrees. So this is what you require. So what we are not recognizing is that you're putting air conditioner, those of us who can afford it. But where is the hot air going? What is happening to the laborers on the street? What is happening to the birds? What is happening to poor plant? The tree is there for 40 years. It can't walk like us. It can't walk to the shade either. So we have become so insensitive about those who live with us, the harmony of nature, those human beings who can't afford. But we want our air conditioner to be at 18 degrees. The other thing which we have forgotten in the recent past is also the practices we used to follow. Mr. Singh had spoken a lot about the designing of the building. And I'll say 50 years back, the so-called sunshades were part of any building, every building. Where have we moved, irrespective of where we are? We have started using glass. And again, we are not sensitive in terms of what quality of glass, how thick it should be, and what kind of heat it's going to generate inside the building. Glass is for those climates where temperatures are low. It is not for climates where 6-7 months in a year temperatures are very high. But the facade of most of the buildings is that of glass. Let's also look at, and when you were speaking about the old forts, and you're absolutely right, let's look at two things in forts. One is the drainage system, and the other is the cooling as a whole. There are solutions available, and I am very proud of that Terry has practiced earth-air tunnel. Earth-air tunnel is that 6 meters below the earth, the temperature is average ambient temperature of that area. If we look at Gurugram, the ambient temperature year-round average is 25 degrees centigrade. So if you have earth-air tunnel, the air, we are not blowing water, but it's the simple air. So during summer, it gives away heat and it becomes cool. And during winter, it's the other way around, it gains heat. And therefore, and I invite all of you to Terry Retreat Complex. It's seeing is believing. In the month of June, during, I should say, when the outside temperature is 45 degrees centigrade, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll actually require you'll require something to cover yourself. Chaddar chahiye hota hai usme. Itna thanda hota hai kamra. And the entire complex, in a way, over there, it is zero waste generation as well. It is all the biomass based gasifier, which is also supplying to the cooking needs, which has become extremely important today when the LPG is in crisis situation. So let's relook at the old principles. Sustainable building designs, it has taken up in a very big way. And for countries like India, where we talk about 2/3 of the infrastructure is yet to be built, the architects, they have to overcome the myth that green is expensive. It's not expensive. And if you incorporate renewable along with it, because renewables, the difference, because let's not look at where the heat is generated. Electricity is also burning of coal. It also generates heat. So therefore, if you develop solar systems at household level, you're actually reducing electricity consumption as well, and somewhere heat generation is comparatively less. So that becomes important. And there are so many other things. The other thing which we also tend to forget, and of course, Mr. Singh mentioned about crops, but also the material which is locally available usually is better suited. And we have done it in Ladakh. It was that let's not carry concrete from plains to that place. Let's use the locally available material. And locally available material usually have better insulation than what you are otherwise preaching to be used there. And similarly, hollow bricks, hollow design, and we have again done it at Terry School of Advanced Studies, which is in Vasant Kunj. It's very comfortable complex, and we have large number of students in every batch, so therefore rooms are full. They are not air conditioned, but very comfortable. So therefore you create between the two walls an air gap, and that's how it is able to reduce the requirements of cooling. Because we haven't air conditioned it, so therefore I'll use the word cooling and not air conditioning. So there are so many things available. It's only that we close our eyes, we look at the easiest solution at that, and that is putting air conditioning. Let's look at the entire infrastructure, what we require, what is locally available, and the building design itself and building material. We have also set up a unit in Gwalpahari, it's on building designs, where we are looking at building material as a whole and how good it is in terms of retaining heat, transforming heat, and so on. We also have a living lab where we look at that what is actually working, what kind of skylight is over there, and how it is going to impact heating and so on. So therefore, when we talk of buildings, it's not just the architect job to design. It is equally important what kind of material we use, because we only have this planet. We have to ensure that we don't use energy which we cannot produce, and therefore we have to reduce energy load. We have to look into the changing climate. We have to look into the impact of my doing on atmosphere around me. So with these words, I'd like to thank you once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Dhawan. Our next speaker is Yamit Dagnet, Senior Vice President International at NRDC. She is responsible for leading the vision and strategy for NRDC's international program and maximizing impact. Prior to joining NRDC, Yamit worked in philanthropy, where she raised significant support for climate adaptation projects and efforts to tackle unavoidable losses and damages due to climate change. She focused on bridging and protecting diverse voices for just, equitable energy and industrial transitions, while promoting scaled up and more accessible sustainable development and climate finance. She also fostered reflection and support on just green energy and industrial transition. I would request Yamit to share her views about the next steps for future actions emerging from the Global Heat and Cooling Forum 2026. Yamit, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. I would like to use this platform to first thank the panelists who are here in conversation, looking at the future. Well, this is probably what this is all about, in any case, fostering dialogues. But, I've been humbled by the previous interventions. It's all about how we beat the heat and how we mix our innovation, a lot of experience across the different regions, the different partnerships, how we bring the community of practice, and also mix all of that with common sense. How we use social behavioral changes, how we use ancestral knowledges, indigenous knowledges, how we make the most of resilient city officers that have been actually set forward through a number of initiatives, chief heat officers who have also been embedded in a lot of cities, how we leverage the Center of Excellence that has just been, launched again today, and the different, partnerships, across the world. We're going to continue to amplify the efforts that have been highlighted, during the past 2 days, to consolidate an ongoing community of practice, to carry the conversation into existing platforms, to elevate heat and cooling as unified global agendas. We will encourage South-South exchange not only in Asia, but also in India and African dialogues, through peer exchange. We will translate insight into accessible knowledge products and use different media, different communicators, and build capacity, to do that. We will need to synthesize key ideas emerging from the forum into policy-oriented briefs so that we do have, means to really accelerate some of the incentives that we know have worked in different places around the world and in different places, different states, different local authorities. Different, ideas that have been innovated, tested, piloted by the people. There are labs, we heard about labs, tested ideas, by migrants, by workers, outside workers. We don't need necessarily to only refer, to science coming from industrial, countries. So I think, the partnerships that we want to explore and to foster need to be very much grounded, and that's definitely a mission that, NRDC and all its partners will, endeavor to really pursue. I think finance has come a lot during the past 2 days, with technology, because they are needed, to really secure the transition to a more sustainable cooling to beat the heat. Now, we need to deploy different instruments. We've been talking about blended finance, how to reduce the cost of capitals. We need to make sure that we will not complicate it always, the issue by making sure that we are not tapping just into what we call climate finance, but that we mainstream, resilience and climate into the world of finance, so that actually finance investments are becoming more resilient by producing more resilient outcomes. We have had a number of actors, from technology, from finance in these rooms, but we've been missing a number. We've been missing, some, philanthropic, some CSR, sources of, funding as well. I think, while there's a whole spectrum that has been highlighted that we can really tap into and push ourselves, to be a little bit more innovative and create, use our imagination to create more interdisciplinary, activities to really boost, the investment needed. When it comes to communication, actually we have created a bit of space to bring some of the communicators here, media journalists. We've been thinking about how to anchor, the narrative into the day-to-day lives, to make sure that actually what we're talking about is not, another technical term. It's not just about cooling. It's about prosperity. It's about dignity. It's about informality. It's about affordability. It's about ultimately how we align our lives with nature, with the planet. So there's, clearly a lot of fragmentation among all of us. There's a lot of institutions, doing a lot of things very often overlapping with each other. And this forum is aiming to actually bring them, in a way that is actually fostering synergies, reduce the fragmentation, create one-stop shop so that we move forward in a more effective manner. I think the issue of equity was really at the heart of many of the conversations. Access to the technology, to finance, the right for cooling, again, how this is, the issue of justice, how this is impacting, the low-income migrants and minorities the most. But again, I think it's all about, how the role of the less usual suspects, how the voice of the voiceless are, put forward and are taking stage, including the role of women and children. So overall, I think, there's a path forward, to move from frameworks to implementation by really boosting innovation and common sense. Maybe next time we're going to be bringing all of you in a place that will be more energy efficient, where we would need less, actually, air conditioning. We will need to figure out, how to use AI, but more importantly, how to refer to things that have been working also for a long time. How we are going to bring solutions that works for the short term and work for the long term. Maybe next time we're going to bring you with more scenario exercise, more foresight exercise, so that we're not just looking at how we're going to deal with the next 6 months that are so critical, but the next 20 years to bring the prosperity to all. With this, I would like to thank you, because nothing will happen without you, without all of you in this room. And thank you for enabling us to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Yamit. As we draw this session to a close, I would like to thank all our speakers for their contributions today. Thank you very much. Yes, picture. It is my privilege to deliver the vote of thanks. It is with deep sense of gratitude and immense honor that I thank all our esteemed speakers, guests, and partners for being with us over the past 2 days. It has been an extraordinary gathering. We have been greatly encouraged by the depth and quality of conversations that have happened over the past 2 days, and we are very excited about taking this forward. I would like to sincerely thank our organizing partners, Department of Science and Technology, National Disaster Management Authority, Coalition for a Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, for lending their support and partnership. Your commitment to this topic is a source of encouragement to all of us. I would like to thank the Global Heat Health Information Network for coming with us as a forum partner, and the University of Oxford as an academic partner. We are deeply grateful to all our session partners, Harvard University, the NAVA Foundation, Sustainable Energy for All, South-South-North, Sustainable Solutions for Africa, Alliance for an Energy Efficient Economy, Ashok B. Lal Architects, Council on Energy, Environment, Water, Climate Trains, and CDRI and Prayas. We thank you for your thoughtful leadership and helping us curate the sessions more thoughtfully. I am thankful to our media partners, Edelman, our logistics partner, Asai, the team at ITC for catering, and Mr. Bhatia and his staff from Bharat Mandapam for moving all pieces over the 2 days most seamlessly. I would like to also thank our NRDC team for their tireless work over months to bring all of us together and to work with each one of you. I would like to acknowledge the work put in by the cooling and climate resilience team, our communication colleagues, and our operations team. Without your sincerity and commitment to deliver, this would not have been possible. And last but not the least, I thank all of you for being a wonderful audience over the past 2 days and participating in all discussions and showing support on these critical topics. Big thank you. Please have a great evening, and we will see you through the year and the next year at GHCF 2027. Lastly, I would request the cooling and climate resilience team, the communication team, and the operation teams at NRDC to please come here for a group photograph.